So good morning, everyone. We are in the third, or are we in the fourth? I think our third session with our coffee talk on Monday, talking about money. Money matters. Maybe it's the fourth one. Anyway, we're moving into really kind of making some calculations, and I'll also kind of quickly review the things that we've already discussed together. You know, we talked about on the first Monday senior living options in the Wabash Valley area in general, and understanding the differences in what's true independent living, what is assisted living and licensed versus non, and then that long-term care, or what you think of as nursing home care level, as well as memory care option. So we kind of talked about all the options and the differences first. Then we dug into Westminster Village specifically, kind of briefly covered some of these facts here, our history, 40 years here on this location, life care services management in place, the fact that we're a not-for-profit community with a local board of directors, and we kind of shared those folks and who they are and what their roles are. We also talked then a little bit more the next week on the contracts themselves, or what we refer to as our residency agreement, and that life plan promise that Westminster makes to you. And we dug into the specific rates involved with the life plan option versus leasing option, and talked a bit about services so that you can understand the true value, what you're getting for your money here at Westminster Village. And today, we're going to jump into some of our tools and resources a little bit deep, well, very deep actually, as we look at a real example on Decision Genie. So these are some of the resources, though, that we have in place for you, just as a reminder and refresher. Our CDA is our confidential data application. That's the true, as it states, application piece that you complete when you come and sit down and finish a personal appointment with Rebecca or with me. A website that we're going to look at today is mylifesite.net, and specifically their Decision Genie calculator tool. So I should have taken that next week part off of there. That's this week. Calculate and compare worksheet is something that Rebecca emailed out to you last week following our coffee talk. If you did not receive that, we will send it again, along with maybe our Decision Genie worksheet, so that you have both of those to complete and use those tools for your own assessment. Of course, we have a home sale partner, real estate agent, Carrie Smith, that we utilize. She's available to do consultations with you anytime if you just want to kind of check into, what is the value of your home at this time? What could you sell that for on today's market? Karen Transitions, again, is our senior move manager. And if you want to consult at any point with John Morris and his team and understand his services, we can arrange that for you as well. We know those are all steps toward the process of making your decision and planning your move. Of course, our residents are the fan club, and they're always available to answer questions for you in addition. And just being a member of the Union Health's accountable care organizations, should you have additional questions regarding that long-term care piece and short-term rehab, and what is that relationship that we have with them. All right. But today, again, we're going to dig into the calculator tool. This is the cost compare sheet that you should have received in your email. And again, we'll send that to you if you have not. So today, again, financial calculator, or what they call Decision Genie. Hopefully you've taken a minute to get on the mylifesite.net website and explore there. There's lots of cool information and articles and blogs and explanations about specifically CCRCs, or continuing care retirement communities. We've kind of adopted a new term called life plan community. So we use life plan in place of CCRC today. But this website still uses the older term CCRC. But it's just, again, a neutral site, professional financial planner who kind of made a change in his career, saw a need for educating individuals on the life plan industry. So lots of great information there. And specifically, we're looking at the Decision Genie. So Decision Genie is, I think, well, it's a tool that really only that we can access as communities and as members of the My Life site website. So it's not something that you'll be able to access on their website, but what you'll do is you'll fill out a worksheet that we can share with you, and then come and sit with Rebecca or me and go through the exercise together. But we thought we'd show you a couple of scenarios so that you have a real understanding of what Decision Genie can do for you. All right, in scenario 1, you've got a widowed individual. I used my own name in there, just plug it in there. I'm 79 at the time that I make a move into Westminster Village. My home value that I determined after a consult with Carrie Smith was about $175,000, what she thought I could sell my home for today. So I've on income, the income column, I have a Social Security, a small pension from my deceased husband, as well as a little bit of income from a farm that I share with my siblings. There's some income there. I chose to do the traditional plan. I'm moving into a 1-bedroom apartment at Westminster Village and look forward to taking advantage of all the other lifestyle and amenities and things that are offered. We went ahead and projected a certain amount of care level, that I might need in the future. So we plugged in 1 year of home health care, or hiring an aide into my independent living apartment. I projected that maybe I would make a move to assisted living at some point and stay there for a year. And then I calculated as well, needing a full year in paying privately in our health and rehab center under what we call a long-term care stay. And the second scenario that we'll look at, well, actually, you know what? Let me go back. I'll just go ahead and switch my screen and show you how that one came out before we take too much information into our minds. Where's my new share? There we go. Let's switch screens. And I'm gonna new share this scenario. Okay, so here's Kate Webster. When we go into the Decision Genie, we plug all that information in that I just shared with you, and then we hit calculate, and it's going to run the scenario for us and show us where we are over time. So I've moved into Westminster Village at age 79. It does, go ahead and calculate a life expectancy. Says that I'm going to live to 90, so I've got a good 11 years to enjoy life here at Westminster. Again, the value of my residence, my cash and savings amount that we plugged in there is $15,000. And my investments, I have $300,000. And then down here in monthly income and expenses, again, I had my age at the time I started collecting Social Security was 69. My Social Security benefit is $1,800. I started collecting my husband's pension as well, or at 67. And then I have that additional farm income here of $250 per month. And that, of course, I'll be collecting through my lifetime. I do not have long-term care insurance, so we did not plug that in there. And then here under future healthcare needs and assumptions, as I stated, we have 1 year of a home health aid, 1 year in assisted living, and 1 year in our skilled nursing care or long-term care. Okay. On this side of things under community, then it shows that I've chosen to come in under a traditional plan. My return of cap or my entrance fee under that traditional plan for my Wiley 1-bedroom is $77,890. The community earns 2% per month over the 50-month period, so there's not a return to come back to me after that period of time. My rate when I'm living in independent living is about $2,400. That cost of a home health aid comes out about the same, $2,400 a month. If I make a move to assisted living, my monthly fee will increase to about $4,500. And if I need to pay out of pocket for that year in the health center, you're looking at $8,000 a month for that year. And so then we hit the calculate button and we say, all right, if this scenario plays out for Kate during her life at Westminster Village, then what happens? Where is she at end of life? So I'm going to go back up here to the front, and because it spits back a result with these 3 different charts for us. The first chart looks specifically at her assets. And remember, we had that home value and the $300,000 invested and some in savings and checking as well. So this green section represents the entrance fee that we paid. So out of the sale of my home, I used some of that money to pay my $77,000 entrance fee here at Westminster Village. And it did, you can see the downward trend, it did decline or depreciate over that 4-year period at 2% per month. And the blue represents all of my other assets. Of course, over time, the first, looks like 7-8 years here at Westminster Village, my investments continued to increase as the market did well. And so I continued to make money on my investments. But about year 8 and 9 is when I started to need to utilize some of those funds toward the cost of my care here. I made a move to assisted living and long-term care and added on that nurse within the apartment as well. So that's where my assets are then at what we projected the end of life for me here at Westminster Village 11 years later. It looks like I still have over $300,000 available in my estate to leave behind for my children or heirs or to whomever I need to donate. And then expenses over time, looking at your expenses as you live in independent living, stays pretty consistent during that period. It does calculate our annual increases, which can be like anywhere from 3 to 5%. So you see our expenses increase slightly over time while I live in independent living. And then in year 9, I added that home health aide to come in and stay with me. So my expenses increased. In year 10, I moved to assisted living and had a higher annual expense. And then that final year I spent in the healthcare center was the highest out of pocket expense, of course, for 24-hour nursing care there. And then in this last chart, it really kind of shows just in numbers as opposed to just in graphs, your assets and income over time. What are your expenses during those periods? What are your assets? At what point are we eating into our savings and assets? And you can see that the final number here at the bottom right-hand corner is what's the most important, or at least people, are always, sharing with us that, they're afraid to make a move to Westminster Village because they think that, they'll go through all of their funds but they really want to have money left for their children, right? And heirs. And so that's the number that we're always highlighting and looking for is at end of life. What is there to be left behind for your heirs or, to establish whatever charitable, giving you want to do. And with this situation in particular, I still am at $315,000 at end of life. Okay. So that's again, coming in at 79, doing a 1-bedroom apartment under a traditional plan. And now I'm going to switch my screen share, go back to our scenarios and our presentation and show you a situation with a couple. All right. The next is Mr. and Mrs. Smith. They've come in, waited a couple years longer. They decided to come in at age 83 and 82. Their home is about $220,000 they found after consulting with Carrie. Carrie Smith, again, is our real estate partner here at Westminster Village. We factored in simply Social Security income, and then the program automatically accounts for a certain amount of income off of your investments, of course. They chose to do the return of capital plan, and they're going to move into a much larger 2-bedroom apartment. With this couple, I plugged in 1 year of home health for Mr. Smith in the independent apartment. I calculated 2 years for maybe he passes away, and then 2 years for Mrs. Smith in assisted living, and 1 year in long-term care. Whoops, let me switch, sorry. So let's go back to our Decision Genie. Let's choose the Smiths down here. And look what happens with their funds over time. So let's scroll to the bottom. And again, just review their financial picture. Again, Mr. is 83 and Mrs. is 82 at time of move into the community. Life expectancy is calculated there as well into, it looks like early 90s. The home value at 220. I kept the cash and savings at, about 15,000 between those accounts. Investments portfolio at 355,000. And under Social Security benefits, Mr. has a higher Social Security benefit of 2,200 a month. Mrs. is at 800. I didn't add in any additional income, pension or otherwise. And then we put in the 1 year of the home health aid. Oh, this one says 3 years. I'm sorry, 3 years of assisted living for Mrs. and 1 year of skilled care for Mr. And then over here on the right-hand side column under community, you can see that they chose a Deming 2-bedroom apartment under the return of capital plan. So that entry fee that they paid is $215,000. It's a 75% return of capital, meaning Westminster Village earns 25% of that upfront, and 75% is refundable at end of life or when they're no longer here at the community. Their expenses, if they're living in the independent living apartment, they pay a first person rate of $27.91. Second person is $11.11 per month. And the same for I plugged in the same rates for the home health aid added on, assisted living, should they need that, and then skilled nursing care at $8,000 a month, should they need that care. Okay. And so let's go back up to the top and look at where they're at with assets then over time. So again, the green represents the entrance fee that was paid to Westminster Village. And that was what, 215,000, and with 75% of that coming back. So this is the 75% that's still their asset. And then the blue represents their investments in cash and savings. And so they stayed pretty, pretty even over this period of time, but as soon as they both needed, or one of them needed care, you can see that it started to affect, of course, and we needed to eat into that savings a bit to cover cost of care. And that increased a little bit more at year 7, must have made our assisted living move at that point. And of course, skilled nursing care too. But at end of life, you can see that this couple still has their 75% set aside that's going to go back to their estate or to their children, whatever charity that they deem it go to. And that amount, let's see if I can get it to pop up here. I don't know if it'll show up in mine. No, okay. And then expenses, just as we saw from the way that the chart declines, in independent living, their expenses stayed pretty consistent. You can see we added home health care. Maybe we made the assisted living and health center move right here, which increases your expenses considerably. And then the final 2 years there in assisted living for Mrs. So let's put some numbers to it then. You can see over time, over that 9-year period, how funds are utilized. And again, the final number at the bottom right-hand corner is that the asset remaining at end of life, which is still $159,244 to be left to family. Okay. So this kind of a exercise is exactly what we can do with you. We can sit down together, plug in all of these numbers, for you and your situation. We can take a look at, different apartment. What if I chose a traditional plan? What if I choose return of capital? What if I go big? What if I go small? And we can run it as many times as you wish and see where we end up with finances at the end of life. Rebecca, do you feel I missed any particular point in reviewing the Decision Genie piece?
I don't think so. I think it shows, that even though that you've got that safety net, it proves that, you've got that 75 that follows you. If you exhaust your funds, you've got a backup plan. We've got your back. I think it shows that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I always find it really beneficial seeing how your money will serve you throughout time.
I think too, another element of it that's really helpful is, is if we know that you have a particular illness or diagnosis or something, we can kind of estimate, how many years that you might need additional support and care, and plug that in, and it, of course, is going to change and the numbers and the outcome over time. But if some of those things, we can project and plan for it and plug it into this scenario here. Or if you're a very healthy individual and you don't think you'll need those levels of care, we can account for that as well. And your expenses will certainly be a lot less over that time. All right. So if you want to sit down with us and run these numbers and have your own picture of how your money will play out over time, the first thing to do is to complete the Decision Genie worksheet. And again, Rebecca I saved that in our event file, Rebecca, and you can get that emailed out to everybody who joins us, and they can first work on filling that out so that we have the basic information that we'll need when we sit down together and can really literally sit down with our laptop and plug those numbers in and hit the go run button and see how things play out over time. I can save the results and email it to you. We can print them out for you very easily. And then, but the key is to just set up that appointment with us so we can work on it with you. And it'll help you to just make your life plan and make your decision about what is the best option for you financially. We never want anybody to move into Westminster Village and feel stressed over money and strapped for cash or unable to do and spend on the things that you want to do and spend on. We can account for all of that within the program. Extra expense if you want to travel every year, what is that going to look like? We'll plug it in. Maybe you have a very expensive medication that you take, and that's a lot of additional out of pocket. We can plug that in as well and account for that. So please know that it can be, though I showed you two different examples, it can be adapted for your situation as well. All right.
And last week, whenever I emailed everybody, I did send you guys the Decision Genie worksheet,
Okay.
As well as the costing comparison. So hopefully you guys were able to kind of go through with us or with Kate and see kind of where those numbers would plug in, but you can certainly plug those in. You can even, if you wanted to take a picture of it and email it to me or Kate, we'd be happy to plug those numbers in and kind of sit down with you and show you how that looks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if you didn't, please let me know if it didn't go through. You can put it in the chat, or you can call me or send me an email or raise your hand here, and I can make sure I get you guys that again.
Mm-hmm. I think, sometimes it's just the unknown and that fear of the unknown that keeps us stuck and paralyzed in place. But having knowledge brings you power and choices and helps you make those decisions. And so, that's exactly why we have these tools available and want to help you through that process. We want to empower you with knowledge. So yeah, please don't hesitate to let us know what questions you have. I feel like I went through that kind of quickly, so I can kind of backtrack and pull up other screens if any of you have questions at this point about that.